Hey guys, I'm back. So it looks to me like I've got a pretty steady system now, and I'll show you how and why. Up top here, what I did was I made a few more liquid heat exchangers that are pulling in coolant, and they are powering Stirling generators, and they take the heat from the coolant and turn it into EU, and it's only 50 EU per tick, but it does seem to be working pretty well. Let me see here where we are. So you can see it's still, I'm maintaining this 10,000 in here pretty well. I think with the 3 machines up there, at first I added 2, and then I added 1 more, and that seems to have done the trick now. All of these things basically are processing about 120, 150 micro buckets per tick. I just saw the 160 in there from a second ago. But it looks like it's keeping up pretty well. I mean, none of them are getting overwhelmed. None of these are filling up. Nothing's... As a matter of fact, I keep hearing this explosion because I don't think it's actually keeping the system making that superheated steam all the time, because there's just not enough hot liquid going into them. So that actually seems like it's working pretty well. So now I have a constant way to keep this on, or at least I can keep it on constantly, hopefully without any fear. But I'm going to let it run for a little bit, keep monitoring it. I'm not going to let it go on its own for sure. But it looks to me like we're doing pretty well. Let's go down and check again. Yep. Staying pretty constant over here at 10 buckets. And this is pretty steadily keeping it right around 1120 heat units. So it looks like I finally stabilized this system so that it will run constantly. Now maybe I can fill up this MFSU. You can see it's been running for a little while now, so I've got 10 million in here out of the 40 or 400. Is it 400? 1, 2, 3. No, it's 40. Yeah, so I'm a quarter of the way there, filling it up. Awesome. So it looks like we're pretty stable. Excellent. Another way to judge the system and the way it's running now is the amount of cold coolant in this tank, which looks to be right around in the 12,000 range, 12 bucket range. Let's put it that way. So I built this big huge tank, and all I really needed was 12 buckets. Whoops, funny. So now it looks to me like the system is holding again pretty steady here as far as how many millibuckets or micro buckets are in there. It looks like it's pretty steady. I still have to wonder if it's going to get behind at some point, just because it took it a while before. But this looks like it's holding pretty steady. Nope. Actually, it's going down. It is going down a little bit, but it's very, very slow. I still may put some kind of a system on here where I throw that redstone block in here, that if this actually empties out, it's going to throw a redstone signal, and I might put a timer in here so that it shuts the reactor off downstairs for, let's say like 2 minutes, just to let the fluid process through, and then it can start it back up again, because it does look like we're going down. It was holding steady at 12, now it's holding steady between 10 and 11. So we'll see if it goes down to 9 anytime soon here. And it looks like it's holding pretty steady. I don't know. As long as there's fluid in there and it's going in, then we're good. But I don't want to leave and go do something else and come back and find a meltdown. So I'm going to keep monitoring. And I'll be back. And quick update, we've dropped to 8. So it does look like it's steadily going down, but very, very slowly. Very slowly. Interesting. I may actually want to just tick it off like every 30 seconds, like have it turn off and turn back on. Although there's not much hot fluid built up here. But yep, we're heading south of 8 now. Interesting. So 3 of these machines, whoops. Yeah, the fluid's getting built up in these now. So it is having trouble keeping up. So let's see what happens here. If I tick it off, how long before I actually hear something upstairs? Longer than 15 seconds. There we go. Maybe about 20 seconds. And then all of them upstairs start running out of hot coolant to process and shutting down. Back on, turns them on again. Sorry about all the loud noises. Crazy. So now that it's balanced itself out, it seems. Maybe. Yeah. So I definitely need more coolant. One of the other things that I figured out too was that in order to make the coolant, you need lapis dust. And with lapis dust here, let me see here. How can I show you this? Let me go to the coolant recipe. So you need 8 lapis if you're using water to make coolant. But if you're using distilled water, you only need 1 lapis to make 1 coolant. So that'll cut down significantly on the lapis that I need in order to make it. So I grabbed a few buckets of distilled water out of our tank over here because those things are filled up and we still have like 70,000 micro buckets. So let's see where we are now. Yeah, we're still steady, still filled. Another way to register that or check that is make sure that this is at a certain point. So yeah, what I might end up doing is when this empties, have it do a redstone signal, turn off the reactor downstairs for about 30 seconds, and then turn it back on. That'll give it 30 seconds to process the hot liquid that builds up in these machines. Go through and then start up again and see how that works. As long as this is empty, we'll just make sure that it stays off downstairs. So that might be a system that I'm going to do shortly. Okay, so I'm back again. Hey, it's D and I'm back again. Just wanted to show you here. I did put that tank sensor on here and I set it to, if the tank is not empty, then apply a redstone signal. So that sends a signal down to turn the reactor on downstairs. So as long as this tank has fluid in it, the reactor will run. And it looks like it's actually starting to cycle on and off a little bit. There it goes. So it shuts off for a brief second if the tank empties out. It still takes a little bit for the reactor to empty this because there's 10 buckets in here. So by shutting this off for a brief second here and there, it's not actually affecting too much the heat units. But you can see that I am starting to get to the point where the fluid is not actually going to stay in here for too long. Like we're getting too much hot liquid out and not enough cold in. And that tank is emptying out. So I think that's actually a good little system here. It'll keep it running pretty steady so long as there's fluid in here. And it looks like it's not running out too much. It's keeping up pretty well. So I don't whoops, I don't think we'll have any dangers of a meltdown. As long as I have it set up like this, it seems to be pretty fine. I'm going to continue to watch it, though, just to make sure. And so the reactor's been running for a long time now. I haven't turned it off, and we're actually getting to the point where we're almost filled with our MFSU. So what's going to happen is when I get this to 40, I'm just going to shut the reactor off. And then we should be able to go for a long time on just that 40. And then if I find that I run out of EU, then I'll go back upstairs. Come back down here, and turn it back on. And we'll continue to do it that way. Now I cleared out some of the space up above there. I'm going to fill that in, make this room look nice and pretty. And I actually may take this wall out a little bit over here, just so that I have just as much space on this side as I do on this side. And then if I do decide to put a second reactor in, which I may, I'm not sure, then we could actually put the cooling tower for that one on the other side. So that's basically the gist of how we're going. I really don't think I'm going to need a second reactor, because this 40 is going to last me probably a really long time. And now that the system's fairly steady and running fairly well, I don't see the need, but we'll see. And we're now filled. 40 million. Awesome. So now what I'm going to do is let these buffers build up in all these generators. Every single one of these has a buffer, an internal buffer, including those. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So we'll let those buffers build up and then shut the reactor off. And we're still running okay. Yep. Still running okay. So now what I'm doing is, just like I said, I'm clearing out all of this space over here. I mined out some of that up there, but I'm just going to use the filter to...
Wrong, sir. Wrong.
Clear that out. I really don't need that many blocks for stone or marble or any of that. I have tons of it, so we'll just destroy them with the filter and clear that out. Then we'll light this room up, make it look nice and pretty, and then we'll be back. Hey, it's D, and I'm back here. Just want to let you know that you should probably always check to make sure that what you're recording is actually recording, because I just recorded a whole bunch of stuff and it didn't record anything. For some reason it just wasn't recording properly. The files must be corrupted. I can't get them to load into any kind of video at all, and the ones that I actually see a picture on, there's no audio. So I don't know what I did, but I just upgraded OBS and started to record again, and we're going to check and see if everything's fine here. But I've made a lot of changes in this world. So let me check and make sure that this is recording, and we'll see about all these changes if it did. Okay, so that looks like it's working again. I guess I had to upgrade OBS. There must have been something in my settings that I had that wasn't working right. It says that there is a few bug fixes in the new version, so maybe that was it. I don't know. Could just be me fiddling around because I'm trying to get the best quality picture that I can. But anyway, I've made a lot of changes. I've got all my machines back down now, all the way across the world, or all the way across this room, I should say. And I've added a couple of machines. I've added a canner, I've added a recycler, I've added thermal centrifuges over here, and I did away with some of the ME interfaces because I was running out of spots on these cables. Some of the things down here at the end were not actually getting set as active, and it wasn't pushing or pulling any items in or out. So what I did was I switched everything for extraction to be item conduit from Ender.io, and it basically just extracts everything. And all the way down, this extracts into this chest, and then I just have an import bus that does everything basically, with a bunch of acceleration cards, so it pulls out of here very quickly. So even if all these machines are going at once and feeding things into this chest, it's still pooling very quickly in here. I've also done some work in here as far as setting up to put some chests down. And what I'm going to do is on the export under here, let me see if I can highlight that export bus. I've got certain items that'll be pulled out into chests, and then with wireless or item teleport pipes, they'll be pulled out and sent to different places around the world. This is part of the starting of automating for downstairs. So what's going to happen near the nuclear reactor is over here I've got a fabricator that I've got hooked up, and all those scrap items are going to be fed into this chest, which is then pulled into the fabricator and made into UU matter. So we'll be able to use some of that later on. Let me see here. I'm checking my email quick because I've got a quick business email to take care of. Okay. So, we're running out of power here. I've got to turn this reactor back on. And one of the things that I found was that... Oh, let me show you upstairs here, actually. Oh, I went down, not up. Sorry. One of the things I found was that some of these turbines were just about to fail. As a matter of fact, there's one here somewhere. There it is. That's pretty close to failing. So I set up some item conduit in here, and the beautiful thing about this Ender IO stuff is when you use it to pull liquids out, you can also, for the fluid conduit, you can also put item conduit right next to it, and you can run multiples of these right next to each other, and they'll work just fine. So here you can see that I've got item conduit pushing into the kinetic steam generators here, both the ones in the middle and the back of this system. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some steam turbines in here standing by so that when one fails, this is set to automatically export, but it won't export if there's nowhere for it to go. That's the beauty of these Ender IO conduits. So what'll happen is it will wait until there's a spot available for one of these, pull it out, and push it right in through the machine. So we'll have a momentary lapse where there's a couple of seconds where there's no steam turbine in there. We might have a little brief explosion where we don't have steam being generated. And then once it's pushed in there, the system will start right back up again. So this is the one that I'm going to watch. I let this go all the way down. And now we'll have to wait and see if it starts up again. So let's start that. And come back around here. Let's watch this one and see what happens. This should be pretty close going. So through the magic of editing, we'll sit here and watch this and see what happens. Then let me just break in here. I know we're waiting for that one to go, but you continuously see explosions in the background. The reason for that, and I'm probably going to miss that getting replaced, the reason for that is that we're not producing enough coolant to fill all of these machines anymore. So what's happening is some of the machines up front there are running out of hot coolant, and then they're not actually producing enough heat to make the superheated steam. Sorry, I'm struggling, but I'm trying to choose my words carefully so I say the right thing. So when these machines run out of hot coolant, it's not going across here making heat, and what happens is this loses a little bit of this heat and stops producing superheated steam, which causes these machines to make that explosion type of thing. The steam doesn't get fed back to the turbines back here, and these things shut down briefly. So the whole system kind of fails a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll come back down here and check into this a little bit. So up here, as you can see, what I was talking about before, I actually set up a logistics pipe system to feed some things into these machines. Eventually, what we'll probably do is end up having some request and supply pipes set up. But for right now, I'm just going to use basic logistics pipes where you can put request items in here. And you can see that here I've got the extractor, which is going to process a bunch of different things, but one of the main things is that we want rubber processed in here. So I put some rubber wood and some sticky resin in here, and anytime those enter that logistics pipe system, they'll get fed into there. So what you want to do is down here, and I could probably do it here and then have it fed wirelessly up there, but I'll put a chest over here on this export bus. And you can see that I've already got a couple things set up in here for iron dusts, copper dust, and things like that. I might have resin, yeah. So I put the sticky resin in here. I'll have to go get some rubber wood and put it into that export bus. And then we'll feed that out into a chest, which gets pulled into the logistics pipe system and fed up into the system here. I've also ran it all the way down here so that we can get ready to push some things over, and I started putting some packagers up. And what we're going to do with these packagers is, I don't know if I have anything in there yet. It doesn't look like I've started it. They used to be along this wall, and we're going to start taking things like small piles of dusts. So part of the system that I had going before is it gets some small piles of dust when it washes, and I've actually got in my inventory here, I don't know if it's down here maybe? Yeah, I actually built an advanced machine, a thermal washer, which we're going to set up over here. That's why I've dug this out. I'm going to have a water system down here that feeds up to the thermal washer, and we'll wash the crushed iron ore and get purified. We'll also wash the tin and the gold, maybe even some of the other things. Let me see here. So I've got lead, and I've got gold there. I've also got uranium. I've got zinc. We'll wash all of these ores and try to double our output for some of these things. And that's what the washer will do, actually. It'll wash them out, get purified, and you get a little bit more out of purified. So it almost doubles it, I think. Maybe even a little bit more than doubles. One of the byproducts is that you get the small piles of things. So when you have these small piles, if you have... Ooh, that would probably hurt me. Plutonium. I don't think I want to do that. Let's do tin instead. When you have a small pile of it, you can put them into a crafting terminal and get dust. Now what you want to do is, with these packagers, and I've covered this I think before in this series, you want to feed them into a packager, and the packager doesn't even need power. It'll automatically push 9 of those into a dust. So what we'll have is we'll have the item conduit pulling it out again, probably into a chest over here, which gets fed up into the system so that it gets put back into the ME system. And we'll have the dusts being pulled out and fed along the same route and pushed in through the top and then pulled out through the bottom. So that's the plan. That way, as we process more ore while we're using the quarry, and one of the other things is, oh, I guess I must have I pulled it out already. I built myself another quarry, so the goal is to have 2 quarries going at the same time, probably right next to each other, so that I get a little bit more output, or input, I guess I should say, for these systems. Let's check and see how we're doing down here. We still have 3 in there. I replaced this one earlier. Just manually replaced it because it was gone. Yeah, we're at 9755. Pretty sure that's probably going to go to 9,999, and then it'll disappear. And then we should be fed a new one. You can see I put a new one up there too, and some of these middle ones are getting pretty low too. So that's pretty good that now that we've automated that. The only thing that I have to do now is actually have the ME system automatically fill this. And I might actually set it to do that wirelessly through teleport pipes so that they get built upstairs and then fed down here. And maybe we'll put 6 in here and then tell it if it gets below 6, build another one and push it in here. And then that should be good. We've also, the way that those are made, have to tell it how to do. And I already have it set. It knows how to craft the turbine blades. 3 of these in a row in a crafting table make the turbine. So these turbine blades, you just put 1, 2, 3. So the system will be able to produce that pretty well. The biggest problem that I have is that it takes a ton of these refined iron plates and refined iron ingots. So what I did over here is I've got a couple of induction smelters that will make refined iron with iron ingots and coal dust. So you throw coal dust in here and it produces, I think it takes 4 or 6, I'm not sure. Oh, so it looks like it's only 2. So it's for every iron ingot, it's 2 coal dust will produce 1 refined iron, it looks like. So basically you have to double the coal for your ingots. So I've got that set up. I just have to automate it so that it feeds iron and coal and crushed coal into that. And you can see here down at this end that as the things come down this pipe, this is the default route. And this is basically, you can see here that I have it set for default route. This is the ender chest that's set to white, white, white. And that is the input for the system downstairs. Or I'm sorry, upstairs. Upstairs is the ME, all the ME stuff. So here's all my storage and everything. And this chest is what feeds in from outside. Now you can see that nothing's being fed in because the quarry outside is dead. I don't have it doing anything. So let's run back down here and check on our coolant, because this does go down over time. Now here's the other addition that I made. You can see there's a door here. There's a little room back here with enough room for me to set up my timer system. I'm going to have it set so that when this tank runs out, and in here you can see I've got, if the tank is empty, then turn it off. I want to have this run wirelessly. Right now, when the tank empties, this alarm goes off, and that's all that happens. So I know that I have to get back here and turn it off within a few seconds, or else my reactor is going to overheat downstairs. And what happens is when it runs out here, this will start to heat up and melt everything inside. It's happened a couple of times, as you know, if you've watched this series. So we have to constantly monitor that. So we're building up some power here now. Now, I don't know if you know about this mass fabricator or not, but it takes a ton of power. So I've got some glass fiber cable running behind here to power this. I've got a Ender IO fluid conduit running over here, and you can see that I've produced a little bit of UU matter, but not much. But this machine takes a ton of power. So when I turn this on and it's running, first of all, we should feed things into this. But second of all, it actually starts draining, even though that reactor is on downstairs. That's how much power this takes. Pretty amazing. So I'm leaving it off for right now. I'm going to let this power all the way up, as full as it can go. And my priority for right now was to make sure that this system actually works. That's the one. Where are we? We're getting close. So those are the changes that I've made in the world so far, and those are the recordings that got lost, unfortunately. But all these machines are down now, and getting ready to go. I've got a oh, excuse me. I've got a couple more to go. I've got pulverizers and furnaces that I want to lay down. I may put them at the back here. I may move some things around here too. I've also got some NDIO machines set up here so that they can be fed to. Since they take RF, I've got them along this wall because all the RF. And just like before, I've got my power converters set up here so that the reactor downstairs is powering all my RF machines as well. So that is where I am. Still a little bit more work to do here to get things automated. Like I said, we're going to put up another quarry and get both of them running at the same time. So I'm going to get mucho things coming in from outside in the quarry so that we can start processing a lot more stuff a lot quickly. Okay, so we're almost there. And I want to see what happens with this, whether or not it actually disappears and gets replaced. So we shall see in a minute. And there it was. It actually did it really quickly. That's good. Doesn't look like it did anything as far as making explosion or anything. The first one's missing here now, and it seems to have worked. So that's fantastic. I now have a system that's going to replace these steam turbines with the ones in that chest. Awesome. So now all I've got to do is actually make this chest so that it gets fed these steam turbines and the reactor will be completely self-sufficient. Awesome. So I've gone over and collected a lot of that refined iron. I want to show you how you make those turbines. So one of the things that I've got in here is a metal former that's on rolling mode. Oops, I forgot to grab those refined iron, didn't I? I went over here, typed it in, and then just didn't grab the stack. Okay. So I'm going to take a whole stack and throw it in here. Don't forget that down at the bottom, I've got the Ender IO conduit pulling everything out. So you'll see those disappear and go into the ME system there. We've got the overclocker upgrade over here, which makes it go pretty fast. So it makes those plates pretty quickly. And what you want to do is take those refined iron plates, and you're going to have to surround the whole thing, or one of these iron ingots, I should say, excuse me, and surround the whole thing with the plates, and that's going to give you that turbine blade. 3 turbine blades in a row in the middle of your crafting table, and I'm not sure if it works that way. It does not. It has to be in the middle. We'll give you that steam turbine. So what we'll be doing is we'll be automating that system so that it makes a steam turbine from the refined iron. Then we'll come down here and wirelessly push this in here. So now I've got 3 set up. In the back here we've got all 3 brand new. In the middle, and the reason that the back ones wear out faster than the front ones, I think I've said this before. If you look over here, I'm sorry, it should be the other way around. I think when I rebuilt the system, I put the good ones in the front and the bad ones in the back, so that's why it went more quickly. But the front ones should deteriorate quicker than the back ones. The reason for that is they spin twice as fast. This is creating superheated steam, pushing it back into the first machine, and that's creating 100 EU per tick. Then it just turns into regular steam and turns the back one about twice as slow, or half as fast, I should say, as the front one. And that's only producing 50 EU per tick. So that's the difference between the two. The reason that the back ones wore out is because I took the worn out ones when I rebuilt the system and put them in the back machine because I knew that they would be wearing out less quickly back there. And then I put the brand new ones up front here. So that's why those ones went faster than the other ones. Hope that makes sense. So I've got 3 of those there now. So now it's time to automate. But I think that's probably going to have to wait until next episode, because this seems like a good place to wrap up now that we have that system working downstairs and everything's set up here. I apologize for not having the original the original videos from where I was setting up all these machines. But we'll continue on from here on out with some as we do them type of things. I know that's probably what people like more than just, or at least that's what I'm hearing from people, is that they like seeing how things are done as you're doing them, rather than after the fact explaining how it was done. So I'm going to try to do some more things like building systems and stuff on camera as we go. So for now, I appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for more episodes coming up. And thanks for watching. We'll see you later.